Welcome. Val here with today's riff on news that alters our knowledge of planet Earth, the mysteries of the Milky Way, and the cosmos beyond. Today's episode asks, what does it mean to be alive? There are over 100 scientific definitions of life, and none might be accurate beyond Earth. So it's fascinating to ask, is the coronavirus now sweeping the planet alive? Viruses are the smallest living things known to science, and yet they hold the entire planet in its sway. We're most familiar with the viruses that give us the cold, the flu, but viruses can also cause a vast range of other diseases, including one disorder that makes people sprout branch-like growths as if they were trees, according to Zimmer at the New York Times, and author of The Planet of Viruses. Viruses have been a part of our lives for so long, in fact, that we are actually part virus. The human genome contains more DNA from virus than our own genes. Meanwhile, scientists are discovering viruses everywhere they look, in the soil, the ocean, in deep crystal caves, miles underground. They influence the ecology of the world's oceans. They leave their mark on Earth's global climate, and they've been playing a crucial part in the evolution of life for billions of years. They are biology's living matrix. If the Earth's population of viruses reached out to space, they would extend for more than 100 million light years. So why do we even assume that all life in the universe is composed of the same matter that we are? Asked Caltech neurobiologist Alison Koontz for MassiveScience.com. Not everything on Earth can be nicely classified as living or non-living, and virus is a classic example. It exhibits all the characteristics of life. It needs energy, it's bound by a membrane, it can store genetic information, and grows and replicates repeatedly. But viruses themselves are generally not considered alive because they rely on other living cells to replicate. A lot of biologists bristle at this narrow definition. A tapeworm, they say, is considered living, even though it can only reproduce inside another living organism. So why not viruses? If our definition of life doesn't work correctly with the systems that we observe even on our own planet, it's incredibly likely that in a larger universe, there will be systems that break with this definition as well, says Koontz. It's perfectly reasonable to picture super-Darwinian life, which arose by pathways that don't exist on Earth. For instance, say we find a planet of aliens who have achieved immortality. The population has been stable for thousands of years, with nobody being born and nobody dying. In other words, there is no passionate self-replication going on. There is no variation. Everything is static. There is no evolution. Would this alien species be considered living under our current definition? And should it be? Of course, this is a pure sci-fi hypothetical, but as we learn more about the unknowns of the universe, this kind of questioning will be important to consider. Why do we even assume that all life in the universe is composed of the same matter that we are? Ordinary matter only constitutes a very small fraction of the total energy produced by matter. It leaves a gaping hole in our knowledge of the composition of the universe. The rest of the energy is made up by mysterious dark matter, something that only physicists and cosmologists generally spend much time contemplating. There could be a whole system of life made of dark matter, says Harvard physicist Lisa Randall, who speculates that an invisible civilization could be living right under our nose. She observes that dark matter is the glue that holds together galaxies and galaxy clusters, but resides only in amorphous clouds around them. But what, she asks, if this assumption isn't true, and it's only our prejudice and our ignorance, which is after all the root of most prejudice, that led us down this potentially misleading path? No one has allowed, Randall asserts, for the very simple possibility that although most dark matter doesn't interact, a small fraction of it might. Shadow life, she says, exciting as it would be, won't necessarily have any visible consequences that we would notice, making it a tantalizing possibility, but one immune from observations. In fairness, dark life is a really tall order. Science fiction writers may have no problem creating it, but the universe has a lot more obstacles to overcome. Out of all the possible chemistries, it's very unclear how many could actually sustain life. And even among those that could, we don't know what type of environments would be necessary. Nonetheless, dark life could in principle exist, but without stronger interactions with the matter of our world, it could be active or inert virus or AI machines, and we would never know. But the interesting thing is that if there are interactions in the dark world, whether or not they are associated with life, the effects on structure might ultimately be measured, which would reveal a great deal more about this dark, hidden world. But life doesn't have to be made of atoms and molecules. It could be assembled from any set of building blocks with the requisite complexity. If so, a civilization could then transcribe itself and its entire physical realm into new forms. Indeed, perhaps our universe is one of the new forms into which some other civilization described its world. Perhaps it's already around us. Perhaps it's embedded in what we perceive to be physics itself. From the root behavior of particles and fields to the phenomenon of complexity and emergence, says Caleb Scharf, director of the Columbia University Astrobiology Center, what we think might be the effects of mysterious forces such as dark energy and dark matter in the universe could actually be the influence of alien intelligence themselves, or maybe even the aliens themselves. Our working definition of life is hugely flawed because it's based on the limited evidence we have of an infinitely large universe. Earth is the only living planet, so we have a sample of exactly one. So in conclusion, any idea of life as it applies to aliens must be unbounded. Val Landy signing off.